Hello, welcome to BlenderSushi live nodding. Today we're gonna be talking about kind of like interesting topic or problem whenever you look at can see it. Basically, these days I try to explore a lot of like a component levels, um, kind of component levels element in 3D, and when using animation nodes or Sverchok, we get to working to with vector and points and sometimes edges and polygons. And now I just realized that the more I get to explore all this area, the more I found a lot of kind of confusion or maybe conundrum. Sometimes you're able to do one thing in one way and then you can't do it, and you have to use like a different hack or different trick. Um, and sometimes you find out, let's say you can colorize object color, and then you find out that if you're using Blender render you can do that, but if you're switching to Blender cycles you can't do that because cycles has kind of all different ways to do stuff. So yeah, so anyway, with the photo of this black dog, we'll come back to it. Basically, the other day I accidentally made something like this. If you look at it, oh, okay, looks like it looks like a 3D model, and then you're kind of randomize the color of each polygon. So that's the basic idea, right? This is actually kind of accidental. I was using like a few different materials and then applying it into one shader, and then instead of using the UV I was using the normal, and I get something like this. Of course the color itself is random. Dealing with random is fun, but after a while you don't want to just use random colors. You actually want to make something. So like I remember that kind of art is called it's more it's called tessellation, and it's Delaunay. I don't know how to pronounce it, but if I Google search Delaunay tessellation art, I get a lot of these photos that you might have seen it somewhere. It's a really cool effect, and I always wanted to do this using Blender. There are a few apps already on the iPhone or the iPad or Android apps that enable you to create this kind of effects, but I believe you can also do that using Blender, right? And we will use animation nodes or Sverchok. With this kind of polygon coloring stuff, probably Sverchok is a better tool for that. With animation nodes, you can do it, but you kind of have to work in the object level, because animation nodes doesn't have the tool to set the vertex color for each polygon, but Sverchok has. So yeah, there's some with some of this art, the tessellation is actually automated like this. So it will be really cool if we can just automate the process, but there are few things involved, like we need to be able to scatter points based on how the original photo was, and then converting it into like this kind of art. It's not always automatic, but that's okay as well. But I will show you. Yeah, lots of this kind of pattern can be created using Sverchok already, or maybe animation nodes. It's kind of intricate, like a web kind of pattern. We don't we're not gonna go too crazy with that, but anyhow, let's get to Blender. Oh wait, I'll show you the result. So this is the original photo I have. This is this black dog photo I took a few years ago, and yeah, so this is the result. This is the result that I created using Sverchok. There are quite a few concepts to get into, but it's not that hard to do once you know. The one in the middle is actually the one I did manually, and I believe it has some kind of error here, like kind of shifting. You can do this kind of effect without using Sverchok or animation nodes. I actually found out from Blender Stack Exchange, and there's this guy, or I don't know, it's a man or a woman, but anyway, the answer is quite genius. So there's a person asking about how can we create this polygonal art, which is the Delaunay tessellation thing that like this that we saw. He asked a question, and then this guy answers. So Chebu, maybe it's a guy, and then he managed to create something like this using Blender, and then it's quite, the step by step is quite genius. I didn't know that Blender can do this. So, but it shows you the step by step process. Basically, you start with a photo, right, and then you kind of draw the points randomly, not too randomly, but kind of following. Let's say you're like roughly factorizing this photo, and then you just mark it with points where you want to get to see details. Okay, and then from that points, he say you need to use the Delaunay Voronoi add-on. I actually searched for it, and we don't. I'm not sure. I don't think this add-on is there anymore. So I will use Sverchok to make the triangular tessellation thing. It will work. I tried it, and then once we get these points by some kind of magic, like that's basically what he showed the example. So separate every faces, and then scale each and every face is smaller, and then you transfer the UV from the scaled polygon back into the original, and then you get something like this. And you are actually using the UV, and then UV mapping is kind of hack so that it gives you this kind of result. It's quite amazing. You probably want to try this way to do thing, but I will try to using Sverchok. Yeah, let's see how it goes. I'll turn off Safari now, and this guy again. But the result is the one in the middle, right? The one using Sverchok is slightly better, but there's also a little bit of gotcha. It's not perfect, but anyway, I'll show you. Oh yeah, before I get to the tessellation stuff, I want to show you something as well. There's as we know, Blender has Blender Render and Blender Cycles Render, and there are two different Blender engine. There's also Blender Game, but we don't gonna touch that for now. With Blender Render, you might know that when we colorize, let's say we colorize a bunch of objects, and we give a random color using animation nodes. The way I usually do it is using the attribute. What was it? Let's go to compositing. There's this attribute, object attribute output. This is the one that I suggest people to use. I mean, from all my videos, I like Blender object coloring. So if I assign a material, I turn on the object color, and with the object color on, we can then use this object color to colorize the object, right? And this works for Blender render. It doesn't work right away with Blender cycles, and I want to show you a trick on how you can make it to work on Blender cycles. This is the object color. It's special for Polygon object in Blender. Maybe something like text has it as well, and yeah, it does have. So this is kind of how I do it all the time. If I want to colorize object, I use the object attribute output and then select the object, and then of course it's expecting like a color value. And for color, we have color input, mix color, we get a color. So for now I just use that. So it works like this. So it's but if you switch to Blender cycles, it's not gonna work, because Blender cycles does not recognize this object color. Blender cycles though, however, recognize something color for the color vertex data. So Blender cycles can use the color vertex data, and then as we know it, in animation nodes we have the vertex set vertex color. So animation nodes have this ability to colorize the whole object. Not sure if it's able to colorize like a polygon component. If it does, then it's cool, and then I'll have to research on that. But Blender, anyway, Blender, the animation nodes can colorize the objects like this. But if you're colorizing using the vertex color, it will work on the Blender cycle render. So you kind of you might think, okay, so we probably can hook this together, right? Yes, apparently you can. So let's say if I randomize the color of these objects. First of all, I'll group these objects, okay? And then I'll use the objects from group. Of course, objects from group, and then I'm gonna loop through every objects like this. And I'm not gonna use set vertex color yet, but I will use the object color. They are at the moment, let's see, they have same material. Okay, they are using the same material because I'm just duplicating from the original object. They're using the same colors, so the same material, so I can just randomize the color easily. Random using a random vector. Look into the index, and once again I will create a attribute, object attribute output, and the object is going to be our objects, and then the value is going to be, the attribute is going to be called color, and it's expecting color. So we actually need a float list float. Okay, or combined float or something. Float list, and we need a like 4 different channel. and then the vector we're gonna just plug it in like that. The alpha should be 1, and we need a convert. So we're gonna convert any value into color, and just like that. So we have random color, and this will not work in Blender cycles, but you can. Of course you can if you just set a vertex color for each and every object. Set vertex color, and this guy we actually gonna use attribute object attribute input. Okay. Plug in our object, and we're gonna source the color, the object color like that. We're gonna and just plug it in, and magically now it should work. And then for each object it has this vertex colors data, and each one of them is corresponding to the object color. Okay, if I switch to render cycle render now, I still need to create a material. So just create a new material there, and then for each of this guy I'll link the material. It's a cycle material, and then with this material then we go to the Blender cycles node, material nodes, and then we're gonna use attribute, and we're gonna source the color, plug that in, plug this in, and then cool, it renders. So now we switch to Blender render. Okay, this guy should be using wait a minute. Yeah, should we? I think I kind of missed a step or didn't explain it properly. Okay, that's the material, we still have it. So the random color is from this animation node setup, but at the same time this is also transferring the color into vertex color, and that's for Blender cycles, and it should work right away. Sometimes it's tricky. It's not recommended to switch back and forth between Blender render and cycles anyway, but now we can see it working. Okay, so that's how you can transfer the object color. That will be handy. Now back to the Delaunay tessellation thing. Okay, I'll do the step by step. Let's start with importing the image. I will use this images as planes add-on, so it simplifies things a lot. I'll get a black dog, so, and then switch the texture on, and then we'll scale it. Let's scale it like 15 times. So this file save as an Delaunay Tessellation. Save it. So we got this. Yeah, let's switch to compositing. So we get this. We're gonna be using Sverchok for the Delaunay tessellation. But before we do that, we actually need to draw the points for the doggy. So view top. So it's just top view, and then we're gonna go to the edit mode, and by default it's selecting all the points. Just I'll hit A to deselect, and then I can start drawing and tracing the doggy. So it's gonna take a little bit of time, but control click and then you can draw a point. If you find this arrow to be a little bit annoying, you can hide it. Just uncheck this. Okay, I'm just using my mouse to draw. You actually don't need to trace like this. All you need to do is provide points for where you want the tessellation to kind of happens. You don't need to be too precise. It's totally up to you how precise you want it to be, but see, let's see, I'm going around the eyes, going around there, just making points along the detail area. So like this mouth, just create points around it, and then around this leaves, and keep going up there, going around the leg once more, and I'll also take this leaf because that's kind of important, and then maybe some more details around the foot there, and then just randomly clicking everywhere, more around the eyes, maybe a little bit around the ears. So, and then done. I hit tab and then I get something like that. I'll save it and then file, save as new. Next is we don't need the edges, so we will delete just the edges, and then what I did is I hit A and then select all and then delete. I tap X and then delete only edges and faces, so we are left with just the points. Okay, I haven't done any UV mapping or anything. It's just this randomly scattered points for this doggy. Save, and then inside Sverchok, we will use the Delaunay 2D. Sverchok doesn't have Delaunay 3D, but you can fake that 3D. Okay, our photo is 2D anyway, so it's Delaunay 2D vertices, and then we're gonna grab our object, use objects in, and then get our selection, and then pipe in the vertices into the Delaunay node. Now we're gonna fewer draw it, and okay, so apparently we get something like that. Looks like maybe I probably need more points somewhere so it doesn't look like I kind of interesting. So back with the points, I think I'll just gonna make a little bit more points. I kind of want the result to be more square. Probably doesn't matter too much, but just in case it's broken. So let's get, maybe I have like a bed overlapping somewhere. Top view to top view. Selection. So hide this view, top view. Try again. Maybe the center part was not good enough for. Try something real quick, like sorting. Vector sort. What is it? Access user. Yeah, it didn't do much difference. So I might need to start again, I guess. File import image as plane. Black dog. Center it. And let's try again. File, save. Maybe I should do it with the Delaunay thing already on. So this is our original, and then Delaunay 2D objects in. It's probably a good idea to do this anyway. The pure draw. That. Okay, we don't want to see the face, but now I can start drawing the points. So it's kind of like just like a looping kind of lines going around everything, and then if I switch back, okay, that's probably better compared to before. Let's see if I continue and then I probably don't need to delete edges even. So we're gonna go around the eyes, nose, and then get selection. So okay, that's a pretty good tessellation. I'm just gonna use this, save it real quick. So we have the triangulations. All we need to do is kind of transfer the color, sample the color from each center of the polygon and just use that color. It's kind of like simplifying this photograph into this tessellated illustration. So that's really the main point. It's not too complicated. So the next thing to do is we're gonna separate the faces. We can do that using Sverchok. Let's see, maybe I should do it using Sverchok. The node is called Polygon Boom. With Polygon Boom, you will see that let's see if I am doing it correctly. So you get footage and polygon. Let's try. So if we bake the tessellation, it looks like that. That's a tessellated mesh, but we're gonna keep that and then take this. I haven't worked with Sverchok too much, but kind of know thing or two. With Polygon Boom, see, all the faces are already separated. We don't want to do that, I guess. What we want is to join back. So we separate and we join back. We need outliner, because with all the polygon got separated, we have all this bunch of stuff, and we don't want that. I need to keep the black dog. I'll hide the black dog, and so I'll delete this guy. I'm gonna turn on the wire. So with this mesh, all the faces are still together, but we're gonna separate it using Sverchok. So we need Polygon Boom. Now it's actually separated, but we also need to join it back. Mesh join. Separate and join it back. So we have and unbake it. So now we don't need Sverchok anymore. We can hide it. Now here we have what we needed. So it's a single object mesh, and then each of the polygon is actually separated inside. If you want to do it manually and follow step by step at the Blender stack exchange, you can do that. It's kind of straightforward from here on, but I will do it my own way using Sverchok, and we will be using the trick from before. So I actually need the center of each polygon, and for that maybe we can use Sverchok center polygons, and for that guy we can get the center. see if I can just maybe that's not a good idea. Matrix decompose matrix in, matrix out. Just need a location. What is this? Okay, that's the center of each polygon. Now I'm gonna bake it. So okay, we have this guy. We don't need. Okay, we don't need. Tessellate. So this is tessellated, and then secondly we have this separated, and then we have the points. We're gonna need all of them, and hide things in Sverchok. We're gonna need Sverchok again a bit later. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is with the points we're gonna use the displacement technique for sampling the photo. If we have like a sample node, it's gonna be a lot easier, I guess. Just a way to sample image based on point position. That's my wish list for Sverchok developer and animation nodes developers. For now, we're just gonna do it like this. Point selected, go to displacement, and turn off mid-level. This is gonna be RGB to XYZ, and then the texture is gonna be our dog image. It's gonna be the black dog. So the points is being pushed. We cannot use the UV because that's just a points. We can use object, and the object's gonna be. Let's use like something clever. Let's use that. No. That's our objects to match the UV into. So this plane. We don't know how much we have to scale it, but from my experience, we kind of need to scale it to match this guy. Z, Y. Scale it in X. Okay, let's just try to match it. Okay, that seems to be pretty good. That should be in the center as well. Alt G to center it. That's our reference objects. We can hide it. So now basically we have the points being pushed in a RGB kind of way, RGB XYZ, and then we can use this back into Sverchok. Objects in. This is similar to what we do inside animation nodes, except that we are doing it using Sverchok. Eventually, I think you can do it in Sverchok or animation nodes, but since this is like a component level objects, just use Sverchok. It should be easier. And then vector math subtract. It's very similar. Subtract the one that's being pushed, subtract with the original, and now we should have the RGB that we can use using vertex color. So this is exactly what I was talking about. So in Sverchok you have this handy thing to colorize every polygon. And just by doing that, you should have like SV vertex colors got created. And hopefully if we switch to cycles render, now create material, now switch to cycles node based material creations, we can use attributes and then plug in Sverchok vertex color, I think that's the name, and plug that in. We get black. Okay, it seems to be working as planned. In fact, this is pretty much it that I want to show you. So it's working by magic. So if you were to do it using the techniques shown in Blender Stack Exchange, maybe I'll open Safari, or no, just leave it. So you have the tessellation happening. Okay, maybe I should just show it to you because it's kind of cool, very cool as well. I didn't know Blender can do that. It's a cool technique how you can turn like a photograph like this, and then with a kind of clever U-fit mapping trick, you can get something that's more like a tessellated objects. Yeah, what he does basically with all this separated, I believe his technique work on a, so his techniques is like this. Okay, I'm not gonna use that. So we have, that's the one I created using Sverchok. The effect is live, so that's an advantage. So if I use the reference plane, and it's kind of, if I move things around, if I scale down or up the plane, I'll get the effects right away. I'm not gonna do that. I think my Mac is too slow. It might crash. So I will follow the step-by-step shown here, which is really clever, but it takes me a while to understand it, but yeah, it's actually super simple. So once you have the tessellated objects, you want to separate each and every polygon faces. You can use polygon boom, but you can also use you can use particles in Blender actually. But anyway, say Control E, and then edge slide. What was it? Forgot. Control E and select edges split. Select all faces. Control E. It's split. It's split. So it's splitting everything, if I'm correct. Yeah, just like that. Separate all the faces. And then keep the original. So this is like 0 tessellated. I will duplicate it. I will hide 0 tessellated. And with this guy, I will scale. Instead of scaling it like this, we're gonna scale it using the center in individual origins of its faces, like that. Scale it to 0. So scale and then tap 0, and then we get something that looks like almost like a point. That's a cool trick. And then from here, I'll go to top view, Might be missing the corner. Maybe Sverchok tessellation is not like this guy's tessellation. We just need to do projection, UV mapping projection. So it's tap U and project from view and within the bounds. So now this guy have kind of like a hack UV, and with this guy doesn't have UV. We want to transfer. This is the target object and this is the source. So I select the target objects first and then the source, and then Control L and then transfer the UV. Now, oh man, I think I did I do it wrong again? No, I need to turn on this guy. So the target and then the source and then Control L, transfer the UV. Okay, it's working like that, and we just need to assign the material and hopefully it will work. Didn't seem to work. Okay, because this is cycle renders, and we need to do it here. That's the result. Okay, UV map, and the UV looks like that. So it's like a dots, and this guy is still separated. So that's our tessellate. We don't need anymore. So we have two different ways to do it. I believe my ways give a better result. So you can compare the two. The one on the left is of course a little bit faster. I believe it's just a matter of adjusting the UV slightly. Maybe if I select this guy's UV, select this guy's, select the face, and then let's try the UV need to be probably smaller. It needs to match the doggy better. Let's see if I could. Yes, so scale it in X. So the effect is also quite interactive if you doing it this way. So either way, you know, just use Blender or Sverchok or animation nodes. Either way will work fine for you. If you manage to create a setup that works using animation nodes or Sverchok, then that's the one that's working for you, and that's good. So just use that. But if you can create like an automation like this Sverchok, okay, you can create something like this and in a more kind of automated way, then I guess it will work better. You can of course use Python scripting for this, save a lot of steps. Yeah, since we cannot really scatter points yet in Sverchok. Well, you can randomize like points, but you won't get tessellation that looks like more accurately like this. I might actually try to do that. So you have the original image, and then from the original image kind of scatter points based on that, and then do the Delaunay tessellations, and then separate its faces, and so on and so on. And then you use the one thing that I found, though, I found the sampling thing using displacement. The modifier displacement is actually quite handy in a lot of cases. So really you can play around with this number and get like a different look. So I always like the instant interactive result like this. Yeah, so this is like a cool technique. You can definitely create artwork, really cool artwork using this. You don't need to use app. I mean, of course with app it's practical. You can make it anywhere, but if you're at home and then you're using Blender and then you want to create tessellation art like this, you can do it now with the help of Sverchok. Yeah, so hope you find this techniques useful. So if you follow this video, you're gonna be using Sverchok. Don't worry, Sverchok can be powerful. It's not the most animators friendly, but if you know what it's doing, then it's simple enough. You already learned how to do this using animation nodes. Okay, so if you like this video and want me to continue making this video, please do subscribe, and thanks again for watching this video. For this technique, I might also create like a blog post just to make it a little bit clearer. But if I don't have time, then yeah, just watch this video.